In addition to the launch package you received in the mail, you should have also received an email with a link to the electronic version of these materials. Once you click on the link, you should be redirected to a page that looks like this. From here, you can download the package by clicking on the download button, or if you have a Dropbox account, you can just add it to your Dropbox folder. This way, you can access the launch package from any of your mobile devices if you have it set up with Dropbox. So let's go and download the package so we can take a look at all the information that's available inside it. So go ahead and click download. Now keep in mind that depending upon the security settings of your browser, you might be asked to allow for pop-ups. So if this alert shows up at the top of your browser here, then just simply right-click and say allow pop-ups. And once you do so, you should be given a prompt like the one shown here asking you to save the file. So go ahead and click Save File, and it'll either put it in one of your temporary folders or to someplace on your desktop. So after the launch package is downloaded, you will have to unzip the folder to view its contents. Once it's unzipped, you can go ahead and double-click onto the folder, and what you'll notice are 4 different folders that this launch package is organized into. Now this is very similar to the physical launch package that you received. As you can see, there's a folder for the introduction letter, and then there's a Learn About DataBridge SS folder, which is very similar to the white overview folder. And then we also have a separate folder just for all the marketing materials that you find in your blue Sales Tools folder. But these are the PDF versions of the booklet, the data sheet, the brochure, and also a sample price page. And then finally, there's another Sales Tools folder here, which has all the information that's in that blue folder other than the marketing material, that being the go-to customer presentation and the 2-pagers that Dave talked to you about earlier. So let's go deeper into folder number 2 to see some of the differences between the physical launch package and what additional information is available to you in this electronic version. So as you can see here, we have the overview presentation. By going in here, you can find the actual PowerPoint. So you can go through those PowerPoint slides yourself, or you might use some of those slides for your own presentations. We also have a video of a WebEx recording where I did an overview using that same presentation. Now if you go back, you'll notice that there's another folder called DataBridge SS Tutorials. As we mentioned, one of the neat things about DataBridge SS is that we have a whole host of tutorials available with the application itself to make it really easy for the end user to learn about the product. But in addition, these tutorials can be used by you to get a better sense of what the product is all about and to be able to convey its true value to the customer. Rather than having to install the software and access the tutorials that way, we've made all the tutorials available in the program itself in this electronic launch package. So we have a couple different formats that you can use to access these tutorials. If you click on the first folder named DataBridge SS Tutorials App HTML, what this is that you can simply double-click on this link, and the tutorials will launch in your browser. As you can see here, there's an entire table of contents on the left side, so you can either just simply start playing the tutorials.
This tutorial will guide you through the installation procedure.
And as you can hear the voice, it narrates the entire video, and it starts from the beginning with the installation procedure as far as installing the software itself. And you can watch each of these tutorials in order by just letting the tutorials play themselves, or you can simply go and choose a tutorial of your choice. So if you wanted to learn how to do data entry in DataBridge SS, you can simply go to this table of contents on the left and select data entry. So when I do so, this also launches that tutorial, and you can skip forward if you'd like using the toolbars at the bottom here, so like so. In this case, this particular tutorial is actually an interactive tutorial. And one of the things that we've done with these training videos is that they're not just videos when you launch them off your PC, and same thing for the customer when they launch them through the app. Some of these are interactive, so what that allows us to do is really train the users and make them really familiar with how the application works and what buttons they need to click to perform the necessary task. So in this case, the tutorial actually pauses, waiting for my input before it shows me the next step. The voice is basically telling me to select data setup to learn how to do data entry in DataBridge SS. So all I would have to do is click the data setup.
The individual requirements for each of the menu items shown here will be explained in a separate tutorial. For this tutorial, choose the customer menu item to learn to work with database records.
So as you can see, once again, it's telling me what the next step is, so on and so forth. So you can get a better sense by just playing around with these tutorials. And the nice thing is, rather than being worried about making some kind of a mistake on the actual software, you can use this more in a controlled setting, and you can't really break the tutorials. So it's a nice feature. Another advantage of the tutorials is that you can use them as part of your customer presentation. Rather than install the actual software itself to demo the application to the customer, you can simply run the tutorials and show the particular features that the customer cares about. So in fact, if they wanted to see how to do a two-pass transaction using DataBridge SS, you can simply run the two-pass transaction tutorial. This is not only a great learning tool, but also a great tool in the sales process. Now let's take a look at some of the other parts of the electronic launch package. So if we back out of the HTML tutorials, as I had mentioned before, there are other formats of this tutorial as well. So if you take a look at the second folder, this is actually an executable. So by double-clicking on this, rather than launching it in your browser, you would launch a separate app to pay the tutorials, but the content is just the same. It's just your preference. Also, if you go back, we also have another folder called Select Individual Videos. This doesn't include all the tutorials available through the other link I just showed you, but there are a few videos that are not interactive that we were able to convert to just videos. So these are the ones that do not really require your user input to move forward. These are compatible on your iPad, so if many of you have personal iPads and like to use those in your sales process, you can load these videos onto your iPad to be able to show to a customer when you go and present DataBridge SS to them. Now finally, there's another folder called Crystal Reports Tutorial, and this is just simply a PDF instruction, step-by-step instruction on how to do custom reports using Crystal Reports for DataBridge SS. Now this might not necessarily be a tool that everybody might use, but for those that are familiar with Crystal Reports, this could come in handy. Now that we've taken a look at the tutorials available in the eLaunch package, let's take a look at some of the other folders and look at some content that's not necessarily in your physical launch package. Just to kind of give you a better sense of navigation, let's just go back to the original folder. So here we are with the 4 main folders that we talked about, and we were just in the number 2 folder where we access the tutorials. Now let's just go into the Sales Tools folder to see some additional content there. So when we go into this folder, as I'd mentioned before, this is very similar to your blue Sales Tools folder in your physical launch package. We have a customer demo folder. As I mentioned to you earlier, the tutorials are a great way to not only learn, but to also present to a customer. We picked 2 tutorials that we feel do a great job of explaining what DataBridge SS is all about. So you can simply use these to go over the details with the customer. So we could do the quick tour one, and once again we have multiple formats that you could use to show this to the customer, so it's your preference really on how you want to go about using it. Then if we go back out, there's another folder here called Images, and here we have some pictures of the actual product on a computer screen, for example, or some of the cover slides that we've used along for the tutorials and in the presentations, etc., that you might be able to use for your own purposes.